This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back and we are on the Halftime Show live here on Pulse 95. I'm so excited. I know you guys are too, and I can't wait to share with you the show today because we've got a smashing show for you on the Halftime Show. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Let me get my breath back. Okay, right. So, UFC 254 is here in the UAE in Abu Dhabi in Fight Island, and we're going to be talking about that today. Now, that's not just it, folks, because we've also got the UAE Gulf League happening, and that's just started as well. Don't worry, health and fitness fans, I got something for you as well. What is missing in your current health and fitness journey? What is it that you find challenging, and how can you make it right? Share that with me, and I'll share that with you on the only place to be, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95. Let's go, folks.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, YouTube, Pulse 95 Radio, Instagram Live at Omar Al-Duri. Thank you very, very much for joining me on this fine hour on Saturday. And there's so much to cover today, and I have been asked these questions. People have been sliding in those DMs like no one's business, saying, Omar, what's going to happen at UFC 254? Well, let me tell you now, this lightweight division is driving everyone crazy. Probably the biggest star in mixed martial arts, let's say Khabib Nurmagomedov, is facing Justin Gaetche. So if you were under a rock, let me take you out of that rock now and tell you what's happening on that day. What a day to talk about not just mixed martial arts, not just the Gulf League, but also health and fitness. What is working for you, and what is perfection, and why do we strive towards perfection? I'm going to be covering all those topics on today, so stick around, chill with me for the hour, and let's go into it. All right, so on the first segment, Justin Gaetche is going to face Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm going to call him Khabib like he's my friend. That's going to be the first thing. Khabib does hold the longest winning streak in mixed martial arts at the moment now, in 12. Because he's active, that is even more relevant than anyone. However, his opponent, Justin Gaetche, has got the highest striking rate in UFC history at 7.74 significant strikes per minute. He's got one obstacle, though. That legacy is intact as Khabib seeks that great mantelpiece he wants to be undefeated. Now, the Eagle will be looking to put a stop to Gaetche's momentum in cementing that legacy, but stylistically, it's very interesting as the matchup becomes, more than just a wrestling match, which a lot of people are trying to, pin it down to, because what people don't give credit for is Justin Gaetche's defensive wrestling credentials from his collegiate days. So we're going to try and cover that today. We're going to break it down and see how we have reached this point in time now where we're going to have UFC 254 at Fight Island here in the UAE. Now, there's a lot of times we look at both fighters and we kind of think it could have been Tony Ferguson, it could have been anything, but Justin Gaetche has taken his opportunity in defeating Justin Gaetche very, very convincingly. He's built a career out of forcing people to stand up with him, and that also speaks volumes and for his conditioning, which Khabib questioned in his press conference, saying he's very good for 1 round, 2 and 3 and 4 are mine. And if Gaetche's takedown defense holds off Khabib's dominance, then that will strike a question mark we haven't seen Khabib face, because we know what he's going to do. We just don't know how to handle it. Now, Khabib did say to his friend DC Daniel Cormier that the difference between DC Miocic and Khabib Gaetche is DC tried to take him down once. Khabib will do that 100 times until he gets Gaetche down. So already you know that the game plan is not going to change for Khabib. One of the many reasons Khabib said that was because Gaetche has had first round knockouts against Barbosa and Vic, but it also tells me that Khabib's studying Gaetche closely, where normally I feel he's very confident irregardless of his opponent. Now, I also wonder if Khabib's paying attention to Gaetche's footwork in his fights and how he leads his opponents into that monster right hand when he closes the distance. And that's a lot of the times where Khabib does close that distance, pin them against the cage and bring them down. So looking at all these factors will kind of help assess which direction the fight will go out. Now, saying that, let's analyze the fight. Can Gaetche stay on his feet? If he can, how many times can he stuff the takedown? Khabib strikes from the ground, which is where he wears you down, and he's got persistence and constant pressure to be able to wear down his opponents. But however, it's hard to replicate that in sparring or with gym partners if you're Justin Gaetche. So I wonder how he's prepared himself for this fight, specifically coming up to UFC 254. Gaetche said he likes getting beaten up in the gym because it prepares him for what's to come. He fears no one does that for Khabib, and people remind Khabib how great he is. So mentally, there's already a psychological battle in which direction this fight will go at. Now, Gaetche doesn't get taken down easily, and in the time he's been taken down, here's a stat for you folks. He's only spent 17 seconds on the floor, which tells you a lot about his takedown defense. Now, Khabib will be the ultimate challenge, but that's what makes this fight so appealing. He uses his wrestling in a more defensive manner. When you think of the greats like Chuck Liddell and those, Hall of Famers, they use that tool to defend, using their wrestling rather than attack. So it's something that Gaetche has in his arsenal, which he can use and will be tested tonight on UFC 254. Now, it's one thing to take someone down, but it's another thing to keep them there. And the ability to get back on his feet is why it forces his opponent to fight in that manner. That forces the opponent to deal with Gaetche's pressure and power, and that's why Gaetche has had such a great stand-up game, because he's managed to smash his opponents, as we normally hear Khabib saying over and over again. Now, most of Khabib's work is done against the fence, so I'm sure he will try and stay central with him to avoid the tight areas Khabib does get a lot of pleasure out of when he's fighting against, his opponents. His incredible groundwork on forcing you against the fence is the thing that makes him quite dominant. Now, looking at that, I wonder how Gaetche has prepared for that. I said earlier, it's hard to replicate Khabib as a sparring partner. But forcing you against the fence also means collapsing your hips into it, which makes your legs vulnerable and cutting out the blood flow and making you feel very heavy. And that's why the conditioning from mixed martial arts, and a lot of the fighters out there will tell you this even more, it comes down to, how you manage lactic acid, how you manage feeling heavy and tired and breathing quite constant in high pressure situations. And on the show, we've spoken about fight or flight. We've spoken about handling high pressure situations. So it comes down to this. If it does last 5 rounds, then that means 5 times in the fight, Khabib will face Gaetche standing. So he will have to be sharp and aware on how Gaetche begins each round, because he won't be starting from the ground, which is where Khabib likes to do most of his damage. There was a pattern, though, which Khabib used when striking his opponents. And even against more skilled strikers like Conor McGregor, where he utilized his jab, which landed really well, he uses like a sort of a dip and lowers his level onto his leading leg, which feints the takedown and forces people to try and react to Khabib. That's when he makes a decision either to jab or to take them down. And that is the situation. As his opponent, you wonder, do you lower your hands or do you cover your head? And that's why it's going to be such an incredible fight tonight. Now, that's not the only thing that's happening. We have to give credit to the other fighters. We've got a few people who will be fighting on the UFC 254. Let me just get that out. Yeah, on the UFC 254, there's going to be Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier, another great fight in the middleweight. You've got Alexander Volkov against Walt Harris. You've got Jacob Malkoun against Phil Howes. You've got Lauren Murphy against Lilia Shakirova. You've got so many fights. So who's going to win the fight? Will it be Justin Gaetche or will it be Khabib Nurmagomedov? Let us know. Text us on 4215 Itasalat or slide into my DMs on Instagram at Omar Duri and tell me who's going to win this fight and where will it go the distance. I want to hear from you guys. Coming up next, what is it that we're striving to do in the gym or at home in terms of performance? Health and well-being is something that's huge on the Halftime Show. I want to hear what your routine is and what works for you and what you find challenging. On the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Thank you everyone for tuning in on the Halftime Show. Now you might recognize this voice.
Please, just send me location.
And that's exactly what I'm going to do. The location for Pulse 95 in the heart of Sharjah with the Halftime Show. Me here. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here. I'm so grateful. Now I can put the music back on again. And I'll tell you now, a lot of questions coming in about UFC 254 Khabib. What time? Apparently it's been confirmed that everything starts from tonight, 10 p.m. and should be okay. Main event by midnight, according to my sources and all the half-timers on the Instagram live at Omar Al-Duri and Pulse 95 Radio. Okay, one more thing I forgot to mention regarding the UFC 254. If you didn't hear the weigh-ins went on, and Khabib had a sense of relief. It was a big struggle on his face, but there was also a lot of controversy. If you haven't checked out the clip on YouTube, check out Mike Dolce's clip of the Khabib weigh-in. The person doing the weigh-ins didn't allow the weight to settle at 155 and quickly adjusted it. So a lot of controversy coming in. I'm actually a Khabib fan, but I didn't actually take notice of that. So make sure you check that out. A few things happened there. Right, okay, the health and fitness segment, which a lot of our friends on the Halftime Show like to hear about. And this is your show, so we're going to give you the opportunity to hit us up and tell us 4215 Itisalat Urdu, or slide into my DMs and let me know. When it comes down to health and well-being, is there such thing as perfection, and what are we missing from our daily routine? Now, Terry came up with a very, very good comment earlier. Let me just try and dig that out. Where was it? Here it is. Hold up. I'm getting there. Consistency. Got it. Okay, right. So Terry was talking about consistency. Even when you really don't want to work out, just do it. You will never regret a workout done. That's a very, very good point, Terry. I also think that a lot of the times we sometimes maybe don't have a vision of what the light at the end of the tunnel looks like. And I think that's probably why we are consistently battling the process rather than kind of enjoying it or even enduring it. And asking a lot of people sometimes, I've got a friend at the gym called Michelle who runs and trains and does all sorts of things. Her trainer, actually shout out to Ben, who's spending our last week with us in the UAE, is flying out back to the UK. And when I speak to Michelle normally, she tells me, she was like, I'm doing this. She did her first 10K, but it's kind of never enough. And she's such a crazy athlete. She's really, really athletic, very fit. But then again, this is my point when I'm talking to people and I ask them what they're looking for. Sometimes we've got goals, but we don't really enjoy them as much. So is there such thing as perfection? Is there such thing as something that we're missing out on? Are we not sleeping well enough? Are we not recovering well enough? Are we not breathing well enough? It's another thing regarding, there's a lot of emphasis now on breath work and the things that we are meant to do to handle, let's say, the pressure of, expectation. And that's why I kind of ask that question a lot when it comes down to training, health, fitness, mindset. Some of the most admired athletes in the world, or the fittest people in the world, emphasize a lot on mental fitness. So trying to hit those chords is kind of a challenge in itself. And that's why I kind of look at that, and I always ask people about their opinions, their routines. What are they doing? I remember Jim Quick, the brain coach, he was talking about, breath work and even comparing foods to the organs that it's good for, which was very, very interesting. If you haven't checked out the show, check out the show on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Anghami. There's some very, very good quotes from him there. And it's also people like Brian Kelly or Dr. Perry Nicholson. There's all these fantastic specialists who've come on the show and given their feedback on how to handle situations. Fahad on the Instagram says ice bath and recovery. And that is someone that I've worked with a lot in terms of Benoit, who we brought him on the show as well. And he was talking about handling pressure and handling all sorts of different things, which is very, very cool. So again, what are you missing? 4215 Itisalat Urdu, or slide into my DMs, let me know. Is there something that you're missing in your daily routine when it comes to goal setting? It doesn't have to just be on the physical sense, it could be on the mental sense. What is it? Let us know. I'm going to enjoy this track because I love this track by Pana, and we'll be right back after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adouri on 95.
Please, just send me location.
I love that intro. Please just send me the location. Khabib, well, the location is going to be on Fight Island, and it is tonight, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Let me know what you think of the fights. Who's going to win? 4215 Itisalat Urdu, or slide into my DMs and let me know who's winning the fight tonight. UFC 254, Justin Gaetche vs. Khabib Nurmagomedov. We spoke about a few things. Actually, one thing that I wanted to mention from the first segment, it was very interesting to see the weigh-ins and how depleted the fighters looked, especially Khabib, which you can tell the amount of strain that they put their body through to make weight 155 is very, very difficult. And that's why I think there's 2 more fights left before he will retire. Yes, All right, so, in the first segment, we spoke about UFC 254. In the second segment, we spoke about what are you missing in your routine, and there's some really good points. Florin from New York is saying sleep. Nimmer is saying enjoying the process. Terry's obviously quite hard on herself as well, and that's something that I think we're all quite guilty of. But what we're going to talk about now is the UAE Pro League. Now, it's taken its time out here in the UAE to get everything back running, and I'm excited about it. I want to see football back. Obviously, the one thing that we do know is it's back, maybe without fans, but this also brings out a lot of character when it comes to players. When you don't have fans to play in front of, the athletes have to perform knowing the TV is still on, the screens are still on, the cameras are still on, but no fans in the stadium. It's a different kind of pressure to handle and deal with us players, coaches, and fans, and that's something that I kind of always zone into here on the Halftime Show. I try and look at the mental side of things, how people respond to different situations. Now, Banias and Sharjah became the only two teams to win their 2 league games and have 6 points each. Banias now top of the league standings after they maintained their perfect start to the season with a 3-1 win over Fujairah. The Sky Blues sit 1 spot only above Sharjah on 6 points, 2 after beating Al Wahda 2-1. But I am happy that Sharjah, defending their title, and rightfully so, are doing their thing, which is great. Dropping valuable points though were frontrunners Al Ain, Shabab Al Ahli, Dubai, and Al Jazeera as well. So following their draws over the weekend. Now, when we look at numbers and we try and analyze things, it's still quite early in the season to be able to say, it's evident because as we saw yesterday, Aston Villa, lost 3-0 to Leeds, and shout out to my boy Tyrone Mings. He came out with a really good post today saying Leeds were the better side, and I like athletes like that who admit that. Looking at the Gulf Pro League, it's still quite early, but some of the stats that came out was a total of 19 goals were scored on match week 2 with an average of 2.7 goals per match. Now, this is a huge drop from the first week, which was 4.1, but again, it's still early days. Al-Dhafra's Yassin Bakhit, Sharjah's Welton Suarez, and Wahda's Tim Matavs and Banias's Joao Pedro are top goal scorers so far with 3 goals each. Al-Wasl and Hatta encounter a total of 6 goals scored, if I can get my words right. I'm still excited from the UFC. And Sharjah were the only team that managed to get a home win, while Al-Wasl, Banias, and Nasser and Kalba won away from home. Now, again, I don't know how you guys feel, especially, I want to hear from people who are into the UAE Gulf League, probably can shed a bit of light on what's happening out there at the moment. Has it been weird for you, or do you feel like, obviously with no fans, it's shown you a different side of the game? There's so many different things that come out of match weeks, of results or scores, and we often get different opinions, especially when it comes to the Gulf League. Some people say it's on the rise. We were lucky to speak to the CEO last year and last season, who gave us an insight of how they're bringing in a lot of technology into the game, how they're bringing a lot of incentives for the fans. Well, now obviously with no fans yet, we look forward to seeing what comes up next on the Gulf League, and we will be updating you here on the Halftime Show. But coming up next, we're going to talk to you about today's show, UFC 254. What is missing in your health and fitness journey, the UAE Gulf League, and we're answering all your questions. So I want you to sit back and enjoy this. This is one of the tracks from the UK, Rudimental, James Arthur, one of my favorites, and shout out to Sam as well, who's here in Pulse 95 with me on the Halftime Show. We'll be right back after these.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Please, just send me location.
Salam, welcome back to the Halftime Show with Omar Duri. If you're wondering, who's that saying, please send me location? It is definitely Khabib Nurmagomedov, especially ahead of his 254 UFC fight against Justin Gaetche for the title tonight here on the UAE Fight Island, Abu Dhabi. It's going to be happening. Great to see you guys. Thank you very much for all your support on the Halftime Show and all your love. And I have to say as well, for everyone that supported Reset, it's been incredible, because if you don't know, I heard this week that Reset is an Amazon bestseller. Now, I had no idea that this was going to be the case. I didn't even know that happened. My publisher, shout out to Mustafa, told me, and actually saying that, a lady just walked into the Instagram Live, Harriet, who used to give me coffee when I used to write Reset. So shout out to Harriet, who just happened to come into the Instagram Live. Now, so many things in terms of being grateful and being humble comes out of this, which is quite nice as I take a breath to take it on, because a lot of the time, we're often wondering what we don't have, and we're often probably overlooking what we do have. And this is something that I personally have experienced myself. I'm so grateful. Hassan says, you deserve it. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Florin, all the way from New York. I'll try not to use the exact words, but he was super kind in saying the book is awesome, bro. A game changer as well. Shout out to Minna, Terry, Amin, Layla, Spicy, Hassan, Fahad, Harriet, Amin. I said Bana, of course. Who have I said? Benoit and Muhammad, Florin. And if I've missed you, just give me a thumbs up and I'll give you a shout out before we're done. These are the things that I think mean a lot to people when you appreciate the process, when you also take a second, reflect, be grateful, and just enjoy. Thank you, Musab, as well, for your undivided support as well. So it's nice to kind of have that. So we spoke about on the show today, we spoke about UFC 254, Khabib versus Justin Gaetche. Who do you have to win? Will Khabib take him down and stick to his game plan, or will Justin Gaetche be able to stuff the takedown, knowing that he's only been on the ground for 17 seconds following a takedown, which is very, very interesting. Will Khabib utilize the jab or even try and strike with Justin, or will he just completely stick to what he knows best and make it happen? So many factors in that. There's also the fact we spoke about the UAE Pro League, and the fact that now it's back and we've got Sharjah and representing, trying to get that 100% record, obviously, on that factor. We spoke about health and fitness, the well-being section, which was also quite nice to hear your thoughts on, the different factors that we struggle with, but also the things that we probably don't appreciate and take a second to reflect on in terms of enjoying the process, holding yourself accountable to some extent, but also being able to just progress gradually and take those steps without having the pressures of anyone else, because everyone's got their own, issues they're dealing with, especially during the pandemic and all the struggles we faced. But it's also adapting to different scenarios, so we can always see a plus out of it. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. It's full time on the halftime show. Shout out to everyone who is tuned in. Thank you on the YouTube. Super Mario and Gabby, you know what to do. You guys are the men behind the plans. And shout out to Sama as well, who's here as well. The best music person in the building, not because there's no one else in the building, but because she does control all my tunes and always lives up to expectation. Thank you very much, guys. We have reached full time. That's the full-time whistle. And if you didn't know, the obvious thing
just send me location
is the Heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I will see you guys on Monday. See you soon, guys. Peace.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.